The cafe was almost empty that rainy evening. Soft music hummed under the sound of raindrops racing down the glass. At the corner table, Ethan Gray, the city's most elusive CEO, sat alone, his suit sharp, his watch gleaming, his expression unreadable. He wasn't a man used to waiting, yet tonight, he was. His blind date was already 30 minutes late. The woman his friends had convinced him to meet. Elegant, well-bred, perfect for a man of your stature. He was just about to leave when a girl rushed in, soaked, clutching a tattered bag to her chest. Her name was Lila, and she wasn't supposed to be there. She had only ducked into the cafe to escape the rain and warm her freezing hands. When she spotted the empty chair at Ethan's table, she thought it was unoccupied. "Excuse me," she said softly, trembling slightly. "Is anyone sitting here?" Ethan looked up from his phone, about to dismiss her. But something in her eyes stopped him. Wide, apologetic, but honest. "No," he replied after a pause. "Go ahead." She sat, sighing in relief, unaware she'd just taken the seat meant for someone else entirely. The waiter appeared, and before she could speak, Ethan gestured for 2 coffees. Lila blinked in surprise. "Oh, thank you, but I didn't mean." "It's fine," he said simply. "You look like you need it." Their silence stretched, but it wasn't uncomfortable. She fidgeted with her sleeves, trying to hide the patches on her worn sweater. He watched her, noticing how carefully she held her cup, as if it were precious. Finally, she smiled, small, shy, genuine. "I'm sorry if I interrupted your meeting." "You didn't," he said quietly, surprising himself. "Actually, you saved it." For the first time that night, Ethan smiled. And for reasons she couldn't explain, Lila's heart fluttered. She had no idea she'd just met the man who could change her entire life. He had no idea that the woman who sat down by mistake would become the one he could never let go. The next morning, the sky was clear, but Ethan Gray's thoughts weren't. He couldn't shake the image of the shy girl from the cafe, the girl who smiled like she hadn't in a long time. She never told him her name. She only thanked him for the coffee and disappeared into the rain. He didn't realize she'd left something behind, a faded notebook, lying forgotten on the seat. The moment he opened it, his world tilted. Inside were messy notes, sketches, and a list titled, "Dreams for One Day, Buy My Own Shoes. Fix Mom's Roof. See the Ocean. Open a Bakery." There wasn't a single trace of luxury or pretense, just sincerity. Ethan's chest tightened. Who was she? At noon, his assistant entered the office. "Sir, your blind date from last night called. She said you never showed up." Ethan looked up sharply. "What did you say?" "She waited at Bellero restaurant for an hour," the assistant explained, confused. "Didn't you meet her?" Ethan leaned back, realization hitting him. The girl at the cafe, the one who'd sat by mistake, wasn't his date. She hadn't been pretending. She truly didn't know who he was. A slow, rare smile curved on his lips. Interesting. He closed the notebook gently, tracing her handwriting with his thumb. For years, people had chased him for his name, his power, his wealth, but she hadn't even asked for it. "Find her," he said suddenly. The assistant blinked. "Find who, sir?" "The girl from the cafe," Ethan replied, his tone calm but final. "She left this behind." That night, Lila stood behind the counter of a small bakery, tired but smiling. The rain had returned, tapping softly against the glass. She didn't know that across the street, a black car had stopped. Inside sat Ethan Gray, watching her through the window, the faintest smile on his face. He had found her. And, this time, he wasn't going to let her walk away so easily. The small bell above the bakery door jingled as Ethan stepped inside. The warm scent of freshly baked bread filled the air, wrapping around him like a memory. Lila was behind the counter, dusted in flour, her hair tied in a loose ponytail. She looked up, startled, when she saw him. Her hands froze. You're the man from the cafe." He smiled faintly, resting his hands in his pockets. "And you're the girl who stole my seat." Her cheeks flushed pink. I thought it was empty. "I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to." He held up a hand, amused. "You didn't offend me. In fact, you made my night unexpectedly interesting." She blinked, unsure what to say. Men like him didn't walk into places like hers. His suit probably cost more than her bakery's rent. "What are you doing here?" she asked quietly. "You left something behind." He placed her worn notebook on the counter. Her breath caught. "My notebook. I've been looking everywhere for it." She reached for it carefully, as if afraid it might vanish. "Thank you. Wait, how did you find me?" "I have my ways," he said with a small, knowing smirk. She laughed nervously, hugging the notebook to her chest. "You didn't have to go through the trouble." "I wanted to," he replied simply. His gaze softened. "Those dreams you wrote about, are they still just dreams?" Lila's eyes flickered down. "They're just things to keep me going. Life doesn't always let you choose what you want." Ethan studied her for a long moment. "Maybe it's time someone helped you choose differently." Before she could respond, a customer walked in, and Lila turned away to serve them, her heart racing. But even as she handed over bread and change, she could feel his eyes on her, steady, intent, curious. When she finally looked back, Ethan was standing by the door. "I'll be back," he said quietly, almost like a promise. And as the bell chimed again behind him, Lila pressed her hand over her heart. For the first time in years, she wasn't afraid of what might come next. The following week, Ethan kept his promise. Every morning, the same black car parked outside the tiny bakery on Maple Street. At first, Lila thought it was a coincidence. But when Ethan Gray walked in again, sleeves rolled up, holding 2 cups of coffee, she knew it wasn't. "You're early," she said, half laughing, half nervous. "I figured you could use an extra pair of hands," he replied smoothly, setting the coffee down. She stared at him, incredulous. "You help in a bakery?" He shrugged. "I can stir, or taste test." Her laughter filled the small shop, light and unguarded. "I don't think billionaires do taste tests. Guess I'm an exception." From that day, Ethan became her most unusual helper. He would stand behind the counter, awkwardly trying to roll dough, asking her about recipes, her dreams, her life. Lila found herself talking more than she meant to. About her late mother, about how she'd learned to bake when she had nothing else, about her wish to own a real bakery one day, with golden lights and a big window display. Ethan listened, really listened, like no one ever had before. He didn't interrupt. He didn't offer pity. He just looked at her like she mattered. Sometimes, she'd catch him staring, softly, like she was something rare. It made her heart stumble every time. One evening, as she was closing up, he stayed behind. "Lila," he said gently, "I want to help you expand this place." Her eyes widened. "What? No. I can't let you do that. You've already done enough." "I'm not doing it out of charity," he said. "I believe in what you're building. And I believe in you." She hesitated, torn between pride and the undeniable warmth in his voice. "Ethan, I can't accept." He took a step closer, his voice low. "Then don't accept it as help. Accept it as faith." Her breath caught. For the first time, she saw past the cold exterior, the powerful CEO everyone feared, and saw the man beneath, the one who smiled only when she was near. In that quiet moment, surrounded by the smell of sugar and bread, something unspoken bloomed between them, gentle, real, and unstoppable.